Good evening, everyone. Tonight I am flying from Perth to Auckland on QANTAS business class. I have a A330 in a lie-flat bed from here to Sydney, and then a quick layover of about 3 hours before I jump on Qantas's flagship business class on their 787 for the next leg from Sydney to Auckland. So really excited to see, I guess, how the hard products between the A330 and the 787 sort of compare, given the 787 does like the Perth to London, Perth Rome, Perth Paris, the really long sort of 15-hour flights, whereas the A330 is sort of used more domestically, and I think the longest route is it would be Sydney to Hong Kong would be the A330, or maybe Brisbane to LAX, which I think would be up around the 12-hour mark as well. So I guess soft product's going to be a little bit different, given one is a domestic flight and one is an international flight. But yeah, this is my first time ever flying business class, so you're coming along for the ride, and I'm very hungry but excited. Bye, Chief. So yeah, welcome to Perth Domestic Airport, where I used the business class line at check-in, which took all of about 5 minutes. Just the usual, they told me my bag was going straight through to Auckland and I didn't have to pick it up in Sydney, through security and straight to the Qantas lounge this evening for some food. Good evening. All good? Sweet, thank you. So yeah, welcome to the Qantas Business Class Lounge. Relatively busy tonight, but certainly not the busiest I've ever seen it before. Found myself a seat, grabbed some pizza, and cracked on with some work while waiting for boarding. So essentially walked straight out of the lounge. My gate was to the right, and being business class was obviously able to skip this line completely and be one of the first on board.
Hi there. Thank you. Hi there, welcome. You're passing over as well. Thank you.
So welcome aboard this A330-200. My seat today is 5K, which is an aisle row window seat. So you can see here that they're staggered. My seat, although it is a window seat, is closer to the aisle, but does have this awesome wing and engine view. So on the seat you had this white fluffy pillow, which was a very good pillow. Don't know too much about pillows really. This blanket, which was quite thick in the wrapping still. Plenty of storage down to the bottom right of your seat, and obviously being business class, loads of legroom. Now during this period of me exploring my seat, the cabin crew came around and politely asked me if I planned on eating tonight or sleeping the whole flight. And to my surprise, most people actually said that they were just gonna sleep the whole flight. The very long Qantas safety video then played as we taxied out to the runway, and bang on time we blasted off to Sydney.
Give us your attention for the next few minutes and we'll keep you safe on this flight as we journey to the magic places of regular Aussies all around Australia and the world.
Now, this being a red-eye flight, I am planning on sleeping as much as I can. But given that these A330s are used on long-haul flights, it is important that they offer a good in-flight entertainment system. And to be honest, I think Qantas, this is an area where they have improved recently. As you can see, as I start scrolling and scrolling through this long list of films, there are plenty. So if you are planning on watching movies the entire 12 hours to 13 hours that you're on this plane, you're not going to run out. Still, it's not as large a gallery or library as you'll find on Emirates or Qatar, but it is a very, very good and clean and responsive system. Universal charging is available. There's a USB port, which is handy if you have a USB charger for your iPhone. If you're like me and you don't, and you have a USB-C charger, you got to use your laptop. Dinner was then served with sourdough bread, butter, Coke, and a meat and vegetable pie, which I was enjoying thoroughly until I figured out it had mushrooms, and then proceeded to spend the next 20 minutes individually picking them all out, which kind of sucked, but a very tasty domestic meal. Immediately after my meal service was finished, I reclined my chair into the lie-flat bed position, which was extremely comfortable. I'm 6'2" and I had heaps of space. Got 3 hours sleep, and then was politely woken by this stunning sunrise the next morning, which was shortly followed by this pre-landing announcement from the captain.
Good news, we are the first aeroplane to land after the curfew. We're just a little early at the moment, hence we're doing one very quick holding pattern here out to the southwest of Sydney. We're touching down right on 6 o'clock, and we'll have you disembarking at the terminal on schedule at 6:05 a.m. There is a 3-hour time change between Perth and Sydney. The time in Sydney is 5:32 a.m. Weather's a little overcast, quite warm, 18 degrees and a southeasterly breeze to about 25 kilometres an hour. Thanks for choosing to fly with Qantas. We look forward to seeing you again sometime very soon.
So quickly before landing, my Mile High Club review of the toilets, which to my great disappointment was just a standard lavatory. There wasn't anything special at all. There was some soap here, there was a toilet, there was a tap, and that was just about it. So probably not suitable for the Mile High Club, this one. So one of the notes I did write down while I was on board was that the cabin was kept pretty warm. We did have individual air vents, but this didn't seem to cool me down too much. Wasn't extremely hot, but I did feel a little bit sweaty by the time that we were descending into Sydney. Yeah, beautiful. Welcome to Sydney. You can see the sunrise was lighting the cabin in a very orange colour this morning. I think 5K was a really good seat. My biggest complaint would be is when you are sleeping, because you are on the aisle side of the seat or the stagger, you don't have a lot of privacy. So you sort of do feel like you're sitting in the aisle a little bit. Not that anyone walked into me, but compared to the seat that you're about to see on the 787, definitely not as private as it could be. Now, this was the only photo I got of our aircraft, which was VHEBC. I have flown economy in this A330 before, and it is one of the A330s that has the iPads instead of the inbuilt screens on it. So yeah, a quick bus ride across the apron to the Sydney International Terminal, which being business class, I got to use the priority security screening lane, literally through in 2 to 3 minutes, and was straight on my way to the business class lounge. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, how are you?
Beautiful, thank you. So yes, welcome to the business class lounge, which you can see right now is not very busy, as we were some of the first people into the terminal this morning, but in the space of about 30 minutes turned into one of the busiest places in the airport. They were asking people to move their bags off chairs so other people could find a seat, and overall the whole place just felt extremely chaotic. Food was alright. I had some scrambled eggs and some bacon with a sausage for breakfast. My coffee literally got squirted at me out of the coffee machine, which everyone sort of laughed at. It was pretty funny. But after about 2 hours in the lounge, it was time to go and find my Boeing 787 for QF3 from Sydney to London. Not London, to Auckland. So here she is, today's star of the show, a 6-year-old Boeing 787, delivered in 2018 to Qantas and named Jillaroo. So there was a slight delay in the boarding process. We didn't really get told why, but it was no more than 10 to 15 minutes, so it gave me an opportunity to look at this Korean Air 777. But yeah, before I knew it, it was time to get onto the aircraft.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, yourself?
Very good, thank you. So this first our head.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
So welcome to the rear business class cabin on this Boeing 787, and more specifically, my seat for the next 2.5 hours, or so I thought, 11A. This is a pure window seat. As you can see, the seat is tucked up right next to the windows and provides you with this amazing view of the Boeing 787 wing. So on first looks, everything looks very similar to the A330 product. The biggest difference in my eyes was the seat was now a cloth fabric instead of the leather, which I personally found more comfortable.
Good morning, how are you?
How are you?
Very well.
Good. Can I offer you champagne and water?
Can I just have a water, please?
Yeah, of course. Here, my friend.
Beautiful, thank you.
I'll be back.
So we'd made ourselves comfortable, and after about 20 to 25 minutes of nothing really happening, we had this announcement from the captain.
A little bit of work going on with one of the cabin seats in front of the aircraft. Still a few doors open there. Also down the back, just loading the last of your bags into the hold. Once those procedures are complete, we've got 2 hours and 35 minutes flight time across to Auckland. relatively smooth flying conditions today, and they're forecasting a fairly fine afternoon for our arrival. I think I have to reiterate at this stage, we're not moving around the cabin at any stage during the flight. Just be seated, make sure those seatbelts are comfortably fastened at all times, just in case we do run into any unforecast along the way. Enjoy the flight with us. Any delay that we may experience here on the ground in Sydney will make up in flight for you today. At this stage we're forecasted about 25 minutes early, so with that in mind, enjoy the flight with us. Thank you.
So with the delays sort of explained to us, I thought it was time to watch a movie. I thought it was quite cool that on Qantas you can actually vote or sort of rate the movie, and you can see what the critics think and what the other passengers on the flight thought of that particular movie too.
The crew door seats. Unfortunately, that seat has to work properly, otherwise it causes a situation where you have a blocked exit on the aircraft, and then that gets into a problem where we would have to fly with about 30 less passengers. So a lot of you have been receiving texts saying that we've got a delay here of up to 3 hours. I will know within the next 20 minutes as to how long that delay is going to be. If it is going to be more than an hour, we will get you to deplane the aircraft and then replane the aircraft later on in the morning. Look, I do apologise for this. Unfortunately, it's a little dynamic. It's all just unfolding as I speak. So as soon as I know further, I will let you know. But at this stage, please just stay in your seats for the next 15 or 20, and then we will find out exactly where we're going to progress with this. Thanks for your understanding.
So I think the captain did a really great job of sort of controlling the situation and telling the passengers what was going on. Me, obviously being in business class, had no problem with this at all. We were handed snacks, another round of pre-flight drinks, and as you can see, just pretty stoked to be sitting here and not up the back for once. Another cool feature of Qantas's IFE system is this Watch with Friends button. So if you're traveling with a partner or a friend, you can somehow set this up. Obviously I'm by myself, so I didn't do that. After about an hour and a half of sitting on the aircraft, we finally pushed back from the gate and we're ready to head to Auckland.
As we journey to the magic places of regular Aussies all around Australia and the world.
In the unlikely event of an emergency, you should be familiar with the brace position appropriate to your seat. If you can reach the seat in front, brace by placing your forehead on the back of the seat, hold your lower legs, or put your hands on your knees. If you're seated behind the bulkhead, you can't reach the seat in front, lean as far forward as you can and hold on to your lower legs. If you are seated from rows 21 to 23 in premium economy or in a seat with a sash belt, sit upright, place your hands on your legs, and bring your chin to your chest.
Take a moment to locate your exit as the cabin crew point them out. It might be behind you. So remember your nearest exit.
We then had the very long taxi to runway 16 left before a very not on time departure. So after drinking all those welcome drinks on board, it was time to go to the lavatories for my Mile High Club review. And to my even greater disappointment, this lavatory was just as basic as the A330 lavatory. No real cool amenities, a toilet which is helpful, but really nothing special, which I found a little bit disappointing. On this flight, you were handed the same pillow, the same blanket, but an additional mattress topper to cover up the seat, which I found interesting given the flight is only 2.5 hours. Still, no amenity kits, which disappoints me a little bit. So this screen really shows you how hefty the delay out of Sydney was, as I've watched an entire Thor movie and we still have 2 hours and 10 minutes until we hit Auckland. So I guess I'll run you around how this seat differs from the A330 one. It really doesn't. It's very similar. The only problem I have with this flight, which I didn't have on the previous flight, is that storage bin underneath your feet sort of disappears. So there's less storage on a pure window seat compared to those that sort of have direct aisle access. So here's a real quick snapshot of the menu. With me being a fussy eater and allergic to mushrooms, which seem to be in every Qantas meal ever, I was going with the lamb ragu today. The starter was a quinoa, feta and salmon plate, which I found really tasty. I also found the following ragu, as basic of a dish as it is, very tasty. Pasta wasn't dry, the meat was tasty, the parmesan was very yum, and the bread was also very fresh. We were then served this strawberry ice cream, which came out colder than my ex's soul, but was much tastier once it defrosted a little bit.
Please take special care when filling out your declaration. It is a legal document, and if you make false declarations...
Our place is all we've got. It's vulnerable to pest and diseases. That's why we guard it, as if our way of life depends on it, because it does. But we need your help. Fruits, vegetables, and...
We then descended straight over Auckland City into the airport for a late arrival time, but me, with Auckland being my final destination, this was not too much of a problem at all.
Until the silver sign is off. As always, smoking, vaping, and the use of e-cigarettes is not permitted while disembarking or around the terminal. Please take care when opening the overhead lockers as baggage may have moved and could fall out. Before leaving, ensure you check your seat and seat pocket for any personal items. If you can reach your phone, you can now turn off flight mode. On behalf of all of us here at Qantas and One World, thank you for choosing to fly with us. If you are visiting Auckland, we hope you enjoy your stay. And of course, to those returning, welcome home.
So yeah, welcome to Auckland. I really want to say well done to the Qantas cabin crew. Paul, who was the cabin manager, did an exceptional job throughout the flight, and I always love it when the crew make a flight memorable.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
So made it to 4 points, 4 seasons, whatever the fuck it's called, here in Auckland. To be honest, I actually had a really good time. Sorry, it's getting real close. Look, I really wanted to not like Qantas today. They've done a lot of shit in the last sort of 4 years now that has left a sour taste in my mouth and the just public of Australia's mouth. But to be fair, and I know I'm flying business class, so they make extra effort with business class members. It was really good. The head of cabin crew, Paul, in that last flight was super helpful, super nice guy, happy to have a chat. The hard product, although it might not be a Q suite, again, I've never flown Q suite, but obviously I've walked past it 8 gazillion times. Although it might not be that level of poshness, it's still a place where I could see myself flying Perth to London and being very comfortable the whole 16, 17 hours. The A330, to be honest, I thought there was going to be more of a difference between the hard product on the A330 and the 787. Obviously, the 787's a little fresher, slightly better materials, but all in all, it's a very similar product. So if you do have a product change from an A330 to a 787, you do know that you're getting pretty much the same seat. Minus the 3 hour, 2.5 hour delay, I don't really think that could have gone any better, to be honest. So yeah, big double thumbs up from me. And I'm really looking forward to flying the A330 business class back and then trying the 737 product, which is obviously a much inferior sort of mega recliner seat product. But that'll be my next review from Brisbane back to Perth on another red-eye flight. So hope to see you all there. And then the last video of the year, or maybe last 2 videos of the year, is going to be the Qantas economy experience in a super long haul flight where I'm flying Sydney, Dallas, and then Dallas back to Melbourne, which I still think is the 4th longest flight in the world currently. So if you're up for more Qantas love or hate, feel free to subscribe. I do this shit for fun, not making any money off this, but keeps the app geek and me happy and gives me something to do while I'm sitting in a hotel room editing videos for a bit. Safe travels. I'll see you next time.